What's good, my people? Welcome into Buckets, Action Network's daily NBA betting podcast. We're in the workshop Thursday NBA slate, so you know who I got with me. J Money is Money. You know the man. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel ASAP. We are recording live from the Tommy John Studios. We got some best bets for you, of course, but before that, we'll chop it up. I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Are they going to get out of the rut? Is this going to be one of those things where Giannis is picking up the phone in a couple months, Jay? Hey, get me out of here. Time is up. Or are they going to be able to shake it and get back in the fold? And the Oklahoma City Thunder are better than what we thought they were, or so it seems early in the season. Jay Money is Money. What's good with you?
Everything good with me, man. Hey, we're here, you know what I'm saying, trying to get this money as well as every single day. So that's what we're doing. But yeah, excited to talk about these picks, excited to talk about the Bucks future, Thunder future. Let's get into it. Whichever one you want to do first.
Yeah, no doubt. You know how we do. We'll get a play, we'll get a cap, we'll get you guys out of here. But first, let's touch on Milwaukee first, because that was something right before we hopped on you had brought up. And it's been something we've been talking about over the last couple seasons, me and you. How serious should we take this team? A lot of moving parts with Dame coming over. Now Dame's over. Doc is still trying to get things sorted out with his running mate Darvin Ham. Chris Middleton, double ankle surgery. He's nowhere to be found, and they're still a very old roster. They do add Gary Trent. They do add Taurean Prince, but so far, nothing. I should say nothing. They don't look very threatening when we're talking about teams that can actually compete at the top end of the league. How you feel about them?
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. Early season, I always say never really overreact to early season. These players know. I mean, Giannis has won a championship before. Lillard hasn't, but Doc Rivers has won a championship before. I mean, I don't want to say that these games don't matter, but it's still early season. Like, you could literally start the season off 4-8 or something and still turn around. It's an 82 game season. So I'm not one to panic really quick. We know that they don't have their second, third best player in Middleton over there. So the big three is banged up over there. But I do think that they still have a high ceiling. It's just kind of funny because we heard Giannis kind of already alluding to possibly leaving Milwaukee. I think that I've been saying it for a little while that he's leaving Milwaukee. He's not staying there. This is a put up or shut up type of year for him. I don't think that they win the championship, but they at least have to try their best to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Or I definitely think Giannis is going to want out, and then Dame will kind of just be over there by himself. But I mean, yeah, I wasn't really big on adding Taurean Prince over there. I do think that Gary Trent Jr. is a great 3-and-D guy, even though his defense haven't been good so far this season. But I think it's Dame has looked really good. That's the bright spot. Dame has came in really great shape. He's going crazy from three. Him and Giannis have to get on the same page. Obviously, I mean, I don't think they're playing horrible right now. They're just getting used to two starters out there. And when Middleton comes back, I think they will play a lot better. But I was not a big fan of them bringing back Brook Lopez. You have to move on from him. He's too slow. If they want to run a gun, you can't run a gun with Brook Lopez. He can barely get up and down the floor. So that's one thing that I do not agree with the Bucks doing. I think they re-signed him. I would have got rid of Brook Lopez. I don't care if you're going small ball or running Giannis at the five. Brook Lopez is not a starting center in this league anymore. Maybe on a team like the Wizards or the Hornets or somebody like that, not a serious championship contender like the Bucks are trying to be. So I'm not pressing the panic button on them. I think that they could possibly string a few wins in a row as well, and I think they'll be just fine. They're still a top four team in the East for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting because they get their only win. They've lost 3 in a row. They get their only win to start the season against Philly, who has no Joel, no PG, and Tyrese Maxey literally is getting up 35 shots to try to keep them in the game. They get that W. Then, okay, you get a W against Philly, and then you play Chicago, right? I'm a Bulls fan. I'm from Chicago. They have owned the Chicago Bulls for pushing 6-7 years now straight. Giannis always goes crazy. He went crazy in that game. He had 38, but they gave up 133 to the Chicago Bulls. That is a nasty look. Then they go to Brooklyn and lose, and they lose to Boston. Here are the next 6 games for the Milwaukee Bucks, who are 1-3. They go to Memphis. They're playing really well. They have a home and home and away against Cleveland, who looks like one of the best teams in the NBA at the moment. Then they play Utah, but then they have to go to Madison Square Garden and play the Knicks. Then they play Boston again. So there's a tough little stretch here coming up. I think for me, Jay, I thought they would look a little more cohesive. What was the excuse last year? Doc coming in the middle of the year, he getting sorted. Let him get things figured out. Well, what's up? We had a fresh off season. You got the guy. You working with two superstars. Gary Trent Jr. is a good role player. Taurean Prince is a good role player. I agree with the Lopez take, but Connaughton been back. Like Portis is still coming up. They should look a lot better, in my opinion, overall, more cohesive than they do at the moment. Stay tuned on the Milwaukee Bucks. All right, fellas. I know y'all looking,
Sean,
and ladies. Yeah.
They're gonna win 6 of their next 8 games, and the whole script will be flipped.
You just heard that schedule I read off, yeah?
I heard it. I'm looking at it right now. They'll win 6 of their next 8 games, my guy.
Okay, stay tuned. Because Jay, we'll be
back next week. Grizzlies. And they're beating the Grizzlies on Thursday.
Okay, we'll talk about it. We're gonna see. I like that. We'll revisit that next week. I do want to touch on, and I know that's what I was getting at. Ladies and gentlemen, the picks are coming. Let's touch on the Thunder really quick because J Money is money. This team without Isaiah Hartenstein already looks every bit of the best team in the West. If you look at the numbers at the moment, they're number 2 in net rating at 18.4 coming into Wednesday night. Defensive rating is number 1, 90.8 on the defensive rating. They're giving up 91 points per 100. They're 3rd in pace, so they get up and down, but 1st in turnover percentage. They don't turn the ball over. They're flying around the floor, playing D, and then don't turn it over. They're only averaging 10.7 turnovers a game. Any thoughts on the Oklahoma City Thunder? Are they better than you thought they'd be right now?
Well, this is a regular season team. I don't know if you guys noticed, but they're just they're one of those teams that plays harder than everybody else on night-to-night basis. They're not the team that take days off. They play defense. Obviously, they have an MVP caliber player over there in SGA. I believe he's the favorite right now. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm still not scared of the Thunder when it comes to the playoffs. If they faced up against the Mavs once again, I think the Mavs will put them out. Even if they had Hardenstein in there, face up maybe the Wolves. The Wolves, they got to get another. They need another offensive guy over there. But I'll tell you right now, if the Mavs went up against the Thunder again in the playoffs this season, I'd still be taking the Mavs. So the Thunder are a great team. They could possibly win. They could possibly win 65 games this season. Like they're not to be effed around with like on a night-to-night basis. But when things get to the playoffs, I still think there's other teams out there in the West that are still a notch above the Thunder. But they're a great team, great young team, and for the years to come with this same roster, they're going to be giving the league hell. But the Thunder have fun with them in the regular season. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see how it continues to shake, but this is now year 3 of them being really good in the regular season. Maybe it's one of those things where they pull off the gas a little bit down the stretch and it changes a bit, but we will find out. All right, let's get into the picks. J Money is money. Give me your best bet for the Thursday NBA slate.
I'm taking Luka Doncic under 29.5 points.
Okay, my boy. I like it. We're aligned because I am going Rockets, Mavs under 227 minus 110. J Money is money. Talk to me about Luka and the under.
Yeah, something I've noticed about the Mavs this year. First off, they have a lot more offensive versatility as well. Obviously, adding Klay Thompson over there, Kyrie is looking good. We can't forget that they still added P.J. Washington as well, and added some guys off the bench that's getting a lot of burn. Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall as well. So there's a lot more drives and kicks out there to the three-point line. You can add in Dinwiddie as well coming off the bench. What I've noticed is the Mavs are at their best when Luka doesn't have to be that guy that's dribble, step back three. So he's went under this. They've played 4 games this season. The Mavs are, I believe, four. They're 4-0 this season. But 3-1. The one game that they lost versus the Suns was the game that he went. What I was saying was he went under this line in 3 of those 4 games. The one that he went over for 40 points, that was the game they lost versus the Phoenix Suns. So the recipe is there. They're going to be at their best when he's getting those rebounds, assists, going for 25, 26 points, maybe even 20 points, but being the main facilitator, we know that Luka's going to catch all the attention as well. You know what I mean? So I just feel like when they're at the best version of the Mavs, this Mavs team is probably the best team that Luka's played with as well. He doesn't need to be Superman every night, and we know that Dylan Brooks is going to be all over him for this game as well. He's going to be trying to get under his skin, all this type of stuff. We did see Luka get a little banged up in that game versus the Wolves. He ended up playing it out, went under his total in that one as well. He hasn't really been shooting the ball well from three as well. We know that Luka also didn't play any preseason games, so he's still trying to get into tip-top shape, to get into game form as well. You pair that with Dylan Brooks, making sure that Luka's not going to go crazy on them and single-handedly beat them, and then also like I say, it's better for them if they spread the ball around and he's really facilitating and not necessarily being that guy that has to have the ball in his hands the whole game. So the only time they lost this season is when he actually went over this point total. I think if they want to win this game, then he needs to be more of a facilitator. So I will go out on a limb. Obviously, it's always fading one of the top guys in the NBA. You never know when they can go off, but I will put a half unit on Luka under 29.5 points for this particular spot. It's the best thing I could find right now with the lines that we have out. It's only a 4-game slate as well.
Yeah, there's Luka hasn't got a triple-double yet, so that's still on the board. He's not himself at the moment. He's still working himself into the season. I will say this, Jay. I hope Dylan Brooks don't get under his skin, because that's when Luka gonna go crazy. Dylan Brooks might fry both our plays. He started talking to Luka a little too much. Luka mess around and get that boy a 40-piece. Easy, mild. Biscuits, all of it. So hopefully Dylan Brooks doesn't get too out of pocket. But we're aligned. So I think if Luka goes under 29, the total should come in as well. I like under 227.5 minus 110 in Rockets Mavs. What am I missing, Jay Money? I don't know what I'm missing. I think this number is far too high. We know Ime Udoka is a defensive first coach, and that's shown this year to start this 2024-2025 season. They're 26th in pace, just over 98 possessions a game. The Bulls, to compare, are at 109. They're number one in the NBA. Defensive rating is 6. 2 of those games were against the Spurs, but one was against Memphis, and the Grizzlies have been putting up big numbers on everybody, and they held Memphis to 108. Memphis has been scoring 120 plus on everyone. They scored one in the other 3 games. They scored 126, 124, and 123. They put up 124 on the Orlando Magic, and that's one of the better defensive teams in the NBA. And you know where I'm at on Orlando. Dogs all over the place. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think if they're slowing up Memphis, they're the only team that's done that all year long. Now, Houston is vulnerable in the paint, right, Jay Money? They're giving up 50 points a game in the paint. That's 20th in the NBA. If you watch those Spurs, the 2 Spurs games they played, the Spurs were beating them up inside. Sohan was getting to the cup and doing his thing there, whatever he wanted. But Dallas doesn't play the type of ball to exploit that points in the paint. Dallas, 29th in points via the free throw line as well. They love they're not a physical get to the line, create type of squad at the moment. They're towards the bottom of the league. And if I'm going to bet an under, I love them not getting to the line and getting buckets while the clock is stopped. Also, Mavs middle of the pack in percentage of points coming from the paint. They just don't get to the paint. That's not what they do. So the weakness in the way to exploit Houston would be to work around the cup, and they're not able to do that. So I like this under spot. Jay, one glaring thing and number that jumped out to me for Houston is 38% of their 3-point makes are coming unassisted. That's second in the NBA. In layman's terms, they got some guys playing iso ball and just chucking up jump shots. Jalen Green, Van Vliet, and a few other guys on that team like to get them up. Now, outside of Jalen Green, who's been he's absolutely turned it on from the end of last year to this year, just offensively has been absolutely filling it up. But he's the only guy shooting above 40%, that's getting a bunch of minutes on that team. Listen to the rest of these guys. Şengün, he's shooting 38.6%. Van Vliet's shooting 34%. Dylan Brooks, who's got a little Russell Westbrook in him, he's shooting 36%. Jabari Smith Jr., Jabari's shooting 40%, 39.5%. Whitmore, 38.7%. Thompson, 39.1%. These are all the guys getting all the minutes on this team, and nobody can score the basketball like that. This is a dead under for me. I don't understand why the number is so high. I could see this game being a 116, 109, 115, 108 type of game. Either way, Dallas or Houston. So I want to go under 227.5.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off there. One thing I can say, obviously, Şengün is not a rim protector as well. They might have to start playing Steven Adams a little bit more coming off the bench. Şengün, as good as he is offensively, he's not defending the paint. It's crazy. It's actually kind of crazy because I remember last year when Şengün went down, I was like, all right, the Rockets, this is when they're going to start to be a fade. They rattled off this crazy streak, start going crazy when Şengün's out there. And that's also why I think that they're starting to struggle a little bit this year because they're getting back used to playing with him. But when Jabari Smith Jr. was starting at the 5, I believe that's who they were starting at the 5 last year. It was going really well for them. But one thing I can say is live here, and I wish I was getting a few too many points with the Rockets here. Like I was hoping this line was like at 8 or 9. I was going to be on the Rockets here, but at 5, and staying off. But Lively and Gafford, that lob will be there pretty much all day. That's one thing they can eat in the paint with that lob there. So possibly even PJ Washington as well. So definitely tough game to kind of figure out. But if I'm thinking Luka goes under, you like under the total. Hopefully we go 2-0 one time for the one time here.
Let's go for the bucket spot for the buckets gang. To recap, J Money is money. Luka Doncic under 29.5 points. I am going Mavs Rockets under 227.5 minus 110. Make sure you subscribe to the Action Network YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to J Money NBA Talk with Jay on YouTube. He had Fiddle and Delera on today. I watched the show. It was very informative. They go through the whole slate. It's a great daily primer for your NBA games coming later on in the evening. For J Money is money, I am your host, Sean Little, live from the Tommy John home studio. For next time, get buckets.